First item on the agenda, resolution number RS 2016-86. Councilman Hastings, Pridemore, our sponsors, authorizes the Metro Development and Housing Agency to enter into a pilot agreement and accept payments in lieu of taxes with respect to a multifamily housing project located at 5515 Scruggs Lane. Do I have a motion? Second. Do I have any discussion? Seeing a list in the queue. Councilman Pulley. Stand by, it's not on yet. Right now.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate that. Do we have a representative from MDHA here who can speak to this?
Mr. Joe Kane.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about the project?
I'd be glad to. My name is Joe Kane. I'm the Director of Urban Development with MDHA. This is MDHA's first pilot application that we have received since Metro Council last session authorized the use of pilot with low-income housing tax credit properties. We are pleased that this is a way that potential developers can lock down and understand how much their property taxes will be for these projects moving forward. This specific project is 240 apartment buildings, essentially suburban-style, garden-style apartments that are going to be built out at Trinity Lane near I-65. They are for low-income housing tax properties. These properties will be restricted to households earning below 60% median income for 30 years. We're requesting a pilot for 10 years on this. They will be restricted for 30 years. Rents will range from about $565 for a one-bedroom up to about $835 for a three-bedroom. Now, obviously, some of this stuff gets adjusted for inflation over years, but they're locked down at those levels. This is restricted both by MDHA, it's restricted by THDA, it's restricted by and by the federal government because of the use of low-income housing tax credits on all of this. And these usage are also restricted for a period of 30 years that will be utilized as low-income housing for low-income housing for a period of 30 years.
So I understand the pilot to be a 10-year agreement. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Over the 10 years, slightly less than $4 million in tax abatements are going to the developer. Is that right? Or
that is our best estimate. Right now, this is, of course, vacant property, and so it has not been approved. We do not know what the tax assessor will put on this property. We did an analysis. Our primary analysis was done on the income approach, which is primarily how the assessor's office looks at properties, is how much income does it generate, and what would the value of this property be if it were a true income-producing property, such as any other apartment building inside Davidson County when they review that. We estimated then, based on that income, what is the reasonable amount of property taxes that this project could afford. With that, we came up with what a pilot payment should be for this property. Then we looked at what is this property going to be worth upon completion of construction. We honestly don't know. We've talked to the assessor. What is it going to be? How's it going to roll back on? We came up with the best estimate that this will probably roll back on in the neighborhood of approximately $24 million or so when it is completed and constructed. That is an estimate, and we cannot get tighter figures than that at this point in time.
So our purpose for incentivizing this project is to create affordable housing stock in Nashville. Is that correct? That's
correct, and this would do it for a 30-year period. The city would be foregoing increases in property taxes. The taxes on this start off above what the existing property is already paying. It's already starting off at about twice what the existing property is paying. And it adds additional taxes on top of that of about $100 per unit for each one of those units that are out there, $115 per unit.
At the end of the 10-year period, where does the property tax money then go?
MDHA will take ownership of this piece of property. MDHA is a tax exempt because of MDHA, so there won't be property taxes. So the city will receive the pilot payment that will be coming in. At the end of 10 years, MDHA will revert the ownership of the property back to the developer, and it will then be taxed just like any other property that's owned by a private entity.
I have nothing further. Thank you very much.
Councilman Glover.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think one of the questions that I had just got answered, that this is going to be a 30-year program over all the 10 years. When I read the $2 million per year, is that self-imposed by Metro? Is that the $2 million cap, I'm going to call it, is that self-imposed by Metro?
I'll answer yes.
Okay, I didn't know who to ask that question. Okay, so I guess I'm a little confused. Have we really looked at this as far as unintended consequences, in so much as, it's almost $4 million, as Councilman Pulley has pointed out here, that we're actually going to be abating over the 10-year period. So, I mean, is there a maximized cap on how much we can give away over the course of time, or is it going to restart every year at $2 million?
Well, I will let the table administration answer that.
It's a total of $2 million per year that you could abate, essentially, regardless of the number of projects, or I mean, it's a $2 million cap per year. So that's the limit of our losses, so to speak.
So then, let me see if I understand this correctly, Mr. Cooper. If this one, and for simplistic terms, let's just say this one's $370,000 a year for 10 years. So you've only got another 1.63. That's all for all 10 years. Am I reading that right?
That's per year. That's the most you could have, and Joe can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's the most you could have outstanding or abated would be a value of $2 million per year, up to that.
Okay, so let me make sure I just understand this again. So if 370,000 is the number that we've used, obviously that's going to carry into next year as well. So if we had, let's just say, 5 of these projects that were done at roughly $400,000 apiece, that'd be it. We'd
Correct.
Stop. No,
Right.
no going further.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we do have the cap. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Councilman Cooper. Stand by.
I'll just use my voice.
Not your fault. Try again.
If you'd spend a moment talking about the ongoing management of this, sometimes low-income, rental properties suffer in a few years because there's not appropriate managerial funds for their upkeep. What are the provisions for that in the project going forward?
There are numerous bodies that are overlooking this project. As I tried to mention before, MDHA, number one, will take ownership of the piece of property. MDHA also has home funds that are already in the property. The home funds have our monitoring that go along with that MDHA will be doing. THDA is putting the tax credits into this property as well, which are monitoring all of those tax credits. Those tax credits are ultimately sold to a third party who buys those credits, and then that equity is used as part of the construction cost that goes through there. The typical tax credit investor likewise comes back and inspects all of these properties on an annualized basis going forward as well, because they need to protect their investment. So there's actually at least fourfold with that. The developer, who is also here in this room, if you had any questions specifically for them, they have a proven track record of developing and managing these properties in a satisfactory manner, and we did check those out before as part of the pilot application as far as their background.
So they are the developer for the first 10 years, they are the manager for the first 10 years and through the whole 30 years of the program?
Yes, they obviously have the ability to be able to sell their interest, but there are multiple restrictions that are upon that. But they are the developer, and we will be entering into, with this authorization, we will be entering into additional leases with them into the future to make the property transfers and to be able to enact exactly what it is that's here in front of you today.
You mentioned rent of $565 to $885, and that includes the management fee. Is there an additional management fee?
That is the projected rent that the tenant would pay. And then so out of those rents, all costs would be deducted out of those. Obviously, they're going to have a mortgage associated with this. They will have the pilot payment. They'll have the management fee, and they will have equity returns that will be coming back to their equity investors.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Gilmore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to know if you had done some type of a study for the area. Lately, there's been a lot of talk about concentrated poverty or just incomes of a certain amount, and just how does that fit into the plan and going forth these new plans that you guys are doing as you do affordable housing, or in this case, it's a little bit past affordable housing, which is low-income housing. If you could speak to that.
Yes, Council Lady. We have not done a specific study for this. Obviously, through our consolidated plan process, we do analysis all over the county, and we have identified, obviously, the need for affordable housing everywhere. This housing is restricted to households below 60%. And so it's not the lowest of low income. It's not essentially the MDHA population, which is below 30% median income. The rent levels are, as I told you. The developer had multiple meetings with the community to discuss this project and how this project and what this project would be. And so there was outreach to the local community about what's going to be built into their neighborhood. But as far as a specific analysis on this specific project and the impact of that, we have not done one of those. We do take a look at that in our consolidated plan process. Angie Hubbard is starting that process, or that process is underway right now. There's an annual update done on that process as well, to be able to look at those. And every 5 years, there's a study done on the impediments of affordable housing as well.
Thank you. So I wasn't clear. You said it has been done, or it has not been done, or is it going to be done? I'm not clear. I apologize.
There has not been one that is specific to this property. There's been one that is done and is updated updated annually, a complete study done every 5 years and updated annually, that is done as part of the community development plan that MDHA administers for Nashville. But there's been no specific study as to the impact of this specific project onto the neighborhood.
Okay, so then I guess my next question would be, are we looking, and I'm just basing this off because when Mr. Harbison was here 2 weeks ago and we're asking about the Rolling Mill Hill project, the concern is one of poverty. So it just seems like we're looking at some areas, we're saying we're more concerned, and in some areas we haven't done a study. I'm not clear. Is a study going on? If it happens for one area, it seems like it should happen for all areas. And I guess the concern is it happening for the whole city, anywhere we put affordable or low-income housing? How can we see that happens?
And I wish Ms. Hubbard was here to be able to explain that part of the component that goes with the community development, and that looks at all of the issues of fair housing and where concentration areas take place in there. That is the separate study that I was talking to you about that's done every 5 years and updated on an annualized basis of it, and we are looking at all those. Nashville is to summarize it, Nashville's in need of affordable housing everywhere. The need for affordable housing is not controlled inside council districts. It is all in the entire county, and so there is a need for that. This project we do not see as a concentration of poverty into this area.
Okay, so how would we know though if there hasn't been a study done?
We have looked at the, like I said, we've gone back through the data of the county, and we have the data from the county, and the county as a whole needs that. needs the affordable housing.
Right, but I'm just asking for the specific areas. How would we know?
I mean, that is something that could be done. Obviously, an accounting with that, the U.S. survey on community. They update essentially the census data on an annualized basis. That data is available to look at through there. I do not have that information to provide to you right now.
Okay.
If you don't mind, Mr. Kane, I interject some information here. Don't you also use, I mean, Metro Social Services provides a lot of information pertaining to income in basically every metro, in every councilmatic district.
We utilize that. We utilize the Planning Commission data. I mean, we are grabbing out to all of the data to take a look at that. Almost all of that does get rolled up into our 5-year consolidated plan, and is updated in our annual action plan that comes back to this council for their consideration and approval on an annualized basis.
Councilor.
I have one more. Do we still have the MDHA committee, or did we roll that out away? We used to have a federal grants fund committee. Do we still have that committee, or it's gone? Okay, so I guess the recommendation I would like to see more about the plan and how we come up with affordable housing as we move forward, because it seems like we're getting a lot of different information, but I don't know what committee that would come through, because in the past it would have been the federal grants committee. So I would just like to request that maybe some committee could come through so we could hear more about the plan, the 5-year plan. I get what he's saying, and just to better understand that.
I think maybe Councilman Bedney might be able to help you. Where are you sitting, Councilman? Aaron Johnson.
Thank you, Council Lady Gilmore. Mr. Harbison gave us the beginning of an explanation of their plan, and he was invited to come back. He's going to be at the committee on Thursday, and you're welcome to ask him questions. We have 2 guests that day. The Nashville Chamber of Commerce is also coming. So I'm sure if we invite him to come many times, he'll be happy to. He's usually at all the meetings. So if you have a series of questions, or like a 5-year plan, for example, we can ask him to provide that information. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Mendez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Kane, who receives the payment in lieu of taxes? Is that MDHA or Metro?
It actually would come to MDHA, who would then forward it along to Metro government.
Okay. I got confused because in reading the pilot agreement that was attached, it said that it got paid to the metropolitan government, and then other places it looked like maybe it went to Metro. In particular, I was looking at paragraph 1 of the pilot agreement. Do you have the pilot agreement in front of you?
I'm going to look. Now, since you've called me out on that, let me...
What page would that be?
It's on page 207 is what you had spoken about, and I have misspoke. Thank you. The way this is set up at this point in time is that payment would go directly to the metropolitan government in accordance with this agreement.
All right. One of my requests is going to be that we have the the resolution reflect that, because right now the resolution is unclear about who it goes to. I do have another question about that. If you could, while you've got that, look at paragraph 1E on the next page. And I didn't understand what that means. It seems to be talking about the payment in lieu of taxes to Metro could be reduced by some amount according to the project lease. And of course, we don't have the project lease, so I don't understand how much we would expect that payment to Metro to be reduced.
We do not foresee the payment to be reduced. The payment and the lease that we would enter into is that chart that's up above on what those tax years are, showing that annual increase to come up. We do not anticipate there being any reduction in any payments that would come through to the metropolitan government.
All right. This pilot agreement, it's not executed yet by the parties, is it?
Well, it has been because it's been filed for your consideration. So it has gone to our board, and the developer has executed it as well. It's not to say it cannot be amended, but I believe what is before you is to be the executed document for your consideration.
All right. I'm personally a little uncomfortable with this paragraph 1E, which allows for a reduction based on a document that we don't have in front of us, the lease.
I guess I would be open for a minute. I don't know if that would have substantial substantial effect on that. Unfortunately, I'm not the legal counsel on this, but obviously this is up to.
I talked to your attorney.
Excuse me.
Mr. Kane, would a deferral, one meeting, kind of give you some time to? Scott is here he can answer that question for you on behalf as a developer on that, because he was directly involved with the negotiation of this clause specifically. So, okay.
Thank you, Scott Bryan, LDG Development, Louisville, Kentucky. I talked to your all's attorney at the MDHA board meeting. What was his name?
John Haynes.
John Haynes. He's also from Kentucky, so we struck up a conversation. He explained to me that wording is in there to protect the city, and it's in all these pilot agreements that the state does all over the state. If somebody came and questioned the value of the lease, that wording's just in there in case they say the lease doesn't support that amount of the pilot payment, and that's just legal wording that has to be in there.
So that's something.
We're fully committed to paying those amounts of taxes and not letting them be reduced.
So you would be okay then if the pilot agreement was changed to say that no matter what, the Metro, as opposed to MDHA, would receive the amount of payments in that schedule?
Yeah, we would do that. I even questioned that because this question might come up, and he said it was just in there because of legal ramifications and protections. But yes, LDG Development would commit to pay all those taxes as laid out in that schedule.
All right, thank you. I have a few more questions.
Thank you.
In the analysis we got, there's a reference to the deal is with the paddock at Grandview LP, and then parenthetically it says it's controlled by LDG Development. And my question for MDHA, Mr. Kane, is are there, it looks like the paddock would just be a special purpose entity. Are the obligations of paddock being guaranteed by its controlling entities?
We do not have all of the legal documents executed at this point in time, but we have been reviewing them as an independent, as a standalone entity, and looking at the guarantees under the standalone entity. There are deeds of trust that go into place on the piece of real estate to be backstopping any type of catastrophe that may happen, essentially, if there's not going to be these type of tax payments made.
Mr. Developer has a comment too.
Sorry. Scott Bryan again, LDG
Thank
Development.
You, Scott.
We're this deal is going to have a. Can I see that loan sizing you gave me? The source and use. You have another copy of that? Oh, here it is. This is going to have a $16 million first mortgage. And also, it's a $19 million mortgage on the property, and we will be signing guarantees on that as a developer on that mortgage. Now, it's a non-recourse loan after the project is built and it's all leased up and converted to a permanent loan. But even then, there are stringent carve-outs in that $19 million loan that says you're going to keep the property well maintained, you're going to pay all your taxes, you're going to be a good corporate citizen. And if you're not, since we put $19 million in, we're going to come kick you out. There's also an $11 million equity investment. And that equity investment is by a third-party equity syndicator called R4. For their $11 million investment, they make us sign even more stringent guarantees on the property, basically saying that we're going to run it in year 15 as well as we ran it in day 1. So we're taking massive risks doing this project. We're signing big guarantees on it. And I think that's the answer to your question. We get that question a lot in a lot of different cities.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I just have one more question. I think this one's for Metro. In the resolution in paragraph section 3, toward the end, it has language that says the amount of tax, the number 385,612 at the end of section 3. Has Metro confirmed that, or is that just a number from MDHA?
Mr. Cooper or Talia?
I think those amounts came from MDHA.
All right, thank you. No more questions. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr. King.
Thank you.
Ms. Council Lady Gilmore, are you still in the queue? Would you like?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just request that we hear more about the plan, and just a follow-up to that, before we implement more low-income housing across the city, that plan is in place.
Okay, I think that will be covered Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, with Councilman.
So I would like for that to be on the agenda when we talk about it with affordable housing.
All right, it will be. Councilman Cooper.
Yeah, just as a follow-up to Councilman Mendez's question, Mr. Kane,